Hey there everybody, I'm Jeff, your tabletop technician here on the Dice Tower, and today I'm racing to tell you about Kuiperium, an independently published game by Steve Castle and Matt Cousinow, who provided this copy for review. So let's light 'em up, hit the afterburners, and go collect ourselves some space rock thingies. Kuiperium is a two-player head-to-head game that features a blend of worker placement, tableau building, pattern matching, resource management, and a non-lethal dose of take that, all there to bolster what is ultimately a race between two players to reach the Kuiper Belt in order to mine it of valuable riches. And this is where that race takes place, the Discovery Track, a fairly unassuming route between the here and the there. Now, first off, I will admit that the theme here is prologue deep, where it's explained that you're racing to the Kuiper Belt with the goal of building a space station to mine Kuiperium, while in fact, you'll be building that station and both collecting and spending Kuiperium from the very get-go. But that's okay. The abstract construction of that station happens here, on the main board, which is divided in half for each player. There are just a few actions available throughout the game, and the first one is playing a card, which can go to your half of the main board, to the secret lab on your player board, or to the main board from your secret lab. Each card that you play will trigger the textual effects of that card, and some might provide special abilities or may even require being played from your secret lab. Now, you may instead place a worker, but in a unique twist, workers are played to your opponent's side of the board. Each card features a worker placement spot, plus there are 4 additional spots available on the board itself. Placing a worker provides no immediate result. Instead, a player may choose to recall their workers, at which point every worker recalled triggers the action upon which it rests. This is important because some cards may provide this discovery symbol, which is what provides movement along the discovery track I showed earlier. However, these discovery values can't be combined across multiple recalled workers to make a single movement on the track. In other words, you can't recall these 2 workers to then move to this spot on the discovery track. Now, if you are reclaiming all 3 of your workers, you'll be able to trigger any actions on cards that show this silver hashing behind them. The last voluntary action a player can take is discarding all of the cards in their hand before drawing 4 new cards from the deck. Now, why might you want to do this? Well, that is the right question. Each corner of each card shows a variety of colors, and as cards are placed on the board, they'll create synergy with other adjacent corners. A player can trigger the control center action by recalling a worker from that spot on the board to then jettison any card they wish from their half of the main board. They will gain points of movement on the discovery track equal to the total synergy of the card they jettison. They pay 4 Kuiperium to take this action, remove the card from the board, flip over a bonus tile on their board based on the core color of the card itself, and then move along the discovery track as far as they can with the value of synergy they gained from the card. When a player lands on the final 5 cost space of the discovery track, they immediately win the game. On paper, all of this is pretty straightforward. Play cards to take actions, place workers, recall those workers to trigger their actions, and win the race. But what if I told you that all was indeed fair in love, war, and racing for space rocks? Take, for example, this action, which lets you relocate any worker, possibly pumping the brakes on your opponent's plan to use the control center, or their ability to gain a large supply of Kuiperium. There's also the Spy Network action, which for the cost of 1 Kuiperium lets a player remove any card from their side of the main board, which could let you remove a card with a beneficial action for your opponent even if they already have a worker there to take that action. And there's more I'll gloss over here, like being able to relocate one of your opponent's cards, or placing this card into their play area with these black corners that don't create any synergy with other cards. Now, admittedly, all of these maneuvers play more like a flick of the ear than a punch in the face, but they can inconvenience a player just enough to set them back a few turns, which could be just the few turns you need to slingshot into the lead on the discovery track, at least until you're fed your just desserts. Speaking of the discovery track, you may have noticed this unique space, which, when landed on, lets a player choose one of 3 aptly named strategy cards, which are dealt to players at the beginning of the game. On a later turn, they can play that strategy card just once in the game, often for unique and/or powerful rewards. All of this makes for a rich, tactical, and just stressful enough experience between 2 engaged players. I'm not much of a take that player. I think I've already mentioned that enough in previous reviews. But this game often teeters just shy of actually being mean. For example, there's no way to push your opponents backwards on the discovery track. There's no way to permanently destroy any of their workers. All you're ever doing here is acting like an arrestor cable to hopefully keep them from getting too far ahead of you. And even then, the benefits some of these cards can provide to your opponent will often make you think twice before putting them into play, as the cards that give you powerful rewards will often also give them powerful, juicy actions to trigger with their workers. This give and take aspect of the game is often enough to introduce just enough anxiety into any one of your turns. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't point out just a few issues I've had with Kuiperium. For starters, the rulebook gets a barely passing grade. Primarily, that selection and subsequent playing of a strategy card I mentioned a moment ago is poorly explained in this book. In addition, while the card placement rules are very easy to understand, some fringe cases start to open up throughout emergent gameplay that aren't covered at all within those 16 pages. Now, there is an FAQ online, and yours truly has contributed to it by seeking out answers to some of those questions. But there's also an issue with the main board that has arisen every time I've attempted to teach this game. I mentioned that the spy network and control center actions incur a cost of 1 and 4 Kuiperium, respectively. But you may have noticed that nowhere on those actions are those costs clearly shown. And in fact, I've played this twice without remembering that there was a cost to take the spy network action. And I'll be honest, those 2 issues are keeping me from awarding Kuiperium the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, because outside of those distracting issues, Kuiperium is a very rewarding game to play. There are a variety of tactics to employ here. You'll often have to flip between playing offensively or defensively, and no one method seems to have the upper hand. I also enjoy the mind games you get to play here, like tucking a useless card into your secret lab just to make your opponent nervous, or playing workers to a location you don't really need to distract them from your actual plan. Of course, this hasn't been everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes the revenge dealt your way could be just a bit more chilled than you'd prefer, but I have found this to be a delicious blend of strategy and tactics that has appealed to me in ways I didn't really expect. Every game of this has been tight, with one player always getting the win just a turn or 2 before their opponent could have done the same. And so I give this an 8, easily earning the seal of approval. A simple reworking of the rulebook and some better iconography would easily push this higher for me. So go and check out Kuiperium and see if it's worth the Kuip. Cheers.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.
You'll be building that station and both collecting and spending the it's gonna be a long video.